Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another cozy English episode of our podcast. I'm Anna.
And I'm Alex. We're so happy you're here with us today. Whether you're listening while studying, walking, exercising, or simply relaxing, thank you for spending your time with us.
Today's topic is one that almost everyone thinks about at some point in life. Have you ever looked at someone successful and wondered, why are they so successful? Are they just lucky? Were they born with special talent? Or maybe you've even asked yourself, why am I not there yet?
Those are great questions. When I was younger, I believed successful people were simply different from everyone else. I thought they were smarter, more confident, more talented, more fearless, but the more I learned, the more I realized something surprising. Most successful people aren't born different. They learn to think differently.
Exactly. Today we're not talking about becoming rich overnight. We're not talking about secret formulas or life hacks. Instead, we're talking about psychology. The way successful people think. The way they make decisions. The way they react to problems, and how their mindset helps them keep moving forward.
Here's something interesting. Imagine two people lose their jobs on the same day. The first person says, "My life is over. I'll never recover." The second person says, "This is difficult. But maybe it's a chance to build something even better." Both people faced the same problem, but their minds reacted in completely different ways. And that difference can completely change their future.
That's why psychology matters. Success doesn't begin with money. It doesn't begin with a perfect education. It doesn't even begin with talent. It begins with the thoughts inside your mind. Every action starts with a thought. Every habit starts with one decision. And every big achievement begins with a small belief.
But let's be honest, sometimes social media makes success look easy. You open your phone and see someone buying a new car, someone else is traveling the world. Another person says they became a millionaire at 22. After seeing all that, it's easy to feel like you're falling behind.
I've felt that way too. Sometimes I compare myself with others without even realizing it. Then I remind myself of something important. We usually compare our behind-the-scenes life to someone else's highlight reel. We don't see their failures. We don't see the nights they couldn't sleep. We don't see the times they wanted to quit. We only see the final result.
Exactly. Every successful person has failed. Every successful person has doubted themselves. Every successful person has made mistakes. The difference isn't that they never failed. The difference is that they didn't stop.
Today, we're going to explore what happens inside the mind of successful people. We'll talk about their habits, their mindset, the way they deal with fear, the way they stay disciplined even when motivation disappears. And by the end of this episode, you'll discover that success is much more about psychology than most people realize.
So, here's a question for everyone listening. If success isn't only about talent, then what really separates successful people from everyone else? Is it discipline, confidence, hard work, or something else entirely? Think about your answer while you listen. You might be surprised by what we discover together.
So grab a cup of coffee, relax, and let's begin our journey into the psychology behind successful people.
So, here's a question for everyone listening. If success isn't only about talent, then what really separates successful people from everyone else? Is it discipline, confidence, hard work, or something else entirely? Think about your answer while you listen. You might be surprised by what we discover together. If you had asked me this a few years ago, I would have said, they work harder than everyone else. But now, I think it starts even before hard work. It starts with the way they think.
Exactly. There's a famous saying, your life moves in the direction of your thoughts. If you believe you can't do something, you'll probably never even try. But if you believe you can improve, you'll keep learning until you succeed.
Let me give an example. Imagine two students fail the same English speaking test. The first student says, I'm terrible at English. I'll never become fluent. The second student says, I didn't do well this time, but now I know what I need to practice. Both students got the same result, but only one of them is preparing for a better future.
That's a powerful example. The difference isn't intelligence, it's mindset. Successful people don't see failure as proof that they're not good enough. They see failure as information. They ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of, why am I so bad?
I think that's something many of us struggle with. Sometimes we make one mistake and suddenly, we start questioning everything. We say, maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe this dream isn't for me. Have you ever felt like that?
Oh, absolutely. When I first started learning new skills, I expected quick results. If I wasn't good after a few weeks, I felt disappointed. But then I realized something. We often expect ourselves to be experts before we're willing to be beginners, and that's impossible.
That's such a good point. Every expert was once a beginner. Every confident speaker once struggled to say simple sentences. Every successful entrepreneur once had no customers. Every athlete once lost competitions. No one starts at the finish line.
Exactly. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. Did you fall? Probably. Did that mean you were bad at riding forever? Of course not. Falling was simply part of learning. Success works the same way.
You know what's interesting? Children aren't usually afraid to fail. A baby doesn't try to walk once and then say, well, I guess walking isn't for me. They fall. They stand up. They fall again. And they keep trying until walking becomes natural. Somehow, as adults, we forget that.
That's true. As we grow older, we become more afraid of looking foolish. We worry about what other people think. Sometimes that fear stops us from even starting. But successful people understand something important. Being embarrassed for a few minutes is much better than regretting something for years.
I love that. And here's another thing. Successful people don't ask, can I do this? They ask, how can I do this? It's a small change in words, but it completely changes the way your brain searches for answers.
Exactly. Imagine you want to start a YouTube channel. One person says, I don't have expensive equipment, so I can't start. Another person says, I only have my phone. How can I make great videos with what I already have? Same situation. Different thinking. Different future.
That's something I've noticed too. People who succeed don't wait for perfect conditions. They start with what they have. Maybe their first video isn't amazing. Maybe their first business idea fails. Maybe their first speech is full of mistakes. But they understand that progress is more important than perfection.
And that's one of the biggest psychological differences. Most people wait until they feel ready. Successful people know they'll probably never feel completely ready, so they begin anyway, because action creates confidence, not the other way around.
I think that's a message everyone listening should remember. Don't wait until you're fearless. Don't wait until you're perfect. Start while you're still learning. Start while you're still nervous. Because every small step teaches you something that thinking alone never can.
So, here's today's reflection question for everyone listening. Think about one goal you've been postponing. Ask yourself honestly, are you waiting because you're not ready, or because you're afraid of failing? Sometimes the answer to that question can change your life.
In the next part, we'll talk about something that many people misunderstand. People often say, I'm just waiting for motivation. But is motivation really the secret to success, or is there something much more powerful?
That's exactly what we'll explore next. Stay with us, because the psychology behind discipline might completely change the way you think about success. So we talked about how successful people think differently. They don't see failure as the end. They see it as a lesson. But now, let's talk about something that almost everyone misunderstands. Motivation. Alex, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt super motivated on Monday, and then completely lost that motivation by Thursday?
More times than I can count. Sometimes I watch an inspiring video, make a long to-do list, promise myself that my life is going to change. And then 2 or 3 days later, everything goes back to normal. I'm sure many of our listeners can relate to that.
Exactly. And here's the interesting part. Most people think successful people wake up every morning feeling motivated, but that's not true. In fact, many successful people don't feel motivated every day. They simply don't depend on motivation. They depend on discipline.
That's a really important difference. Motivation is an emotion. It comes, and it goes. Some days you feel excited, some days you don't. If your actions depend only on how you feel, your progress will always go up and down.
Think about brushing your teeth. Do you wake up every morning feeling incredibly motivated to brush your teeth? Probably not. You do it because it's a habit. You don't debate it. You don't wait until you feel like it. You just do it. Successful people try to build the same kind of habits around their goals.
That's such a simple example, but it makes perfect sense. The strongest habits don't require motivation. They become automatic. Imagine if you had to feel inspired every single time you wanted to drink water or lock your front door. Life would be exhausting.
Exactly. The goal isn't to feel motivated every day. The goal is to make good actions part of your daily routine. Let's say someone wants to improve their English. One person studies only when they feel inspired. Another person studies for just 20 minutes every day, even when they don't feel like it. After 1 year, who do you think will make more progress?
The second person, without a doubt, because consistency always beats intensity. Studying for 20 minutes every day is much more powerful than studying for 5 hours once a month. Small actions may not seem impressive today, but over time, they create extraordinary results.
There's another psychological idea that successful people understand. It's called delayed gratification. In simple words, it means giving up a small reward today for a much bigger reward in the future. And honestly, that's not easy.
Not at all. Imagine you're preparing for an important exam. Your friends invite you to play games all evening. Playing games feels good right now, studying doesn't, but months later, the person who studied may achieve something much bigger. Sometimes success is simply the result of making difficult choices over and over again.
Exactly. The human brain naturally looks for comfort. It wants the easiest option, the quickest reward, the path with the least effort. But successful people train themselves to ask a different question. Not, what feels good right now? But what will make me proud 6 months from now? That one question can completely change your decisions.
I love that. It reminds me that success is rarely about one big decision. It's usually about hundreds of small choices. Choosing to read instead of scrolling. Choosing to practice instead of making excuses. Choosing to keep going even when no one is watching. Those choices may seem small, but together, they build a completely different life.
And here's something many people don't realize. Discipline actually creates freedom. At first, that sounds strange. People think discipline means giving up freedom. But think about it. A disciplined student has more career opportunities. A disciplined athlete has a healthier body. A disciplined musician has the freedom to perform beautifully. Discipline opens doors that laziness keeps closed.
That's a powerful way to look at it. Instead of seeing discipline as a punishment, we can see it as an investment. Every time you choose the harder but better option, you're investing in your future self.
So here's a challenge for everyone listening today. Don't try to change your entire life overnight. Instead, choose just one small habit. Read 5 pages. Practice English for 15 minutes. Take a 10-minute walk. Write 1 page in your journal. Do something so small that you have no excuse not to do it. Because success isn't built in one day. It's built one day at a time.
And remember, you don't have to be motivated to begin. You only have to begin. Very often, motivation comes after action, not before it.
That's a wonderful thought to end this part. In the next section, we'll explore another powerful psychological trait of successful people. How do they handle criticism? How do they stay confident after making mistakes? And why do some people grow stronger after failure while others give up? Let's find out together. So far, we've talked about 2 important ideas. First, successful people think differently. Second, they rely on discipline instead of waiting for motivation. Now let's talk about something that stops millions of people from chasing their dreams. Fear, more specifically the fear of failure, and the fear of what other people might think. Alex, have you ever stopped yourself from doing something just because you were worried about being judged?
Oh, definitely. I think almost everyone has. Sometimes I wanted to share an idea, but I kept thinking, what if people laugh at me? Or, what if I fail in front of everyone? Those thoughts can be surprisingly powerful.
I agree, but here's something I've learned. People often believe that successful people aren't afraid. The truth is, they are. They feel fear just like everyone else. The difference is that they don't let fear make their decisions. They act anyway.
That's such an important point. Courage doesn't mean you never feel scared. Courage means you keep moving even when you're scared. Think about your first day at a new school, your first job interview, or the first time you spoke English with someone. Most likely, you felt nervous. But imagine if you had never taken that first step, you would never have grown.
Exactly. Growth always begins outside your comfort zone, and here's something many people don't realize. Confidence doesn't come before action. Confidence comes because of action. Many people say, I'll start when I feel confident. But successful people say, I'll become confident because I started. That's a completely different mindset.
I really like that. It's similar to learning how to swim. No one becomes confident by standing next to the pool and thinking about swimming. You become confident after getting into the water, practicing, making mistakes, and improving little by little. Experience creates confidence, not imagination.
Let's talk about criticism for a moment. Imagine you upload your first YouTube video. Most people might enjoy it. Some people might ignore it, and a few people might leave negative comments. What should you do? Many people would feel like quitting, but successful people ask themselves a different question. Is this criticism useful? If the answer is yes, they learn from it. If the answer is no, they let it go and keep moving.
That's easier said than done. Negative comments can really hurt. Sometimes one mean comment stays in your mind much longer than 100 kind ones. Why do you think that happens?
Because our brains naturally pay more attention to negative experiences. It's a survival instinct. Thousands of years ago, paying attention to danger helped humans stay alive. Today, that same instinct makes one negative opinion feel much bigger than it really is. But here's the truth. You cannot grow while trying to make everyone happy. No matter what you do, someone will disagree with you. Someone will criticize you, and that's okay.
I once heard a quote that really stayed with me. If nobody criticizes you, you're probably not doing anything remarkable. At first, I didn't believe it. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Anyone who creates something meaningful will eventually face criticism.
Exactly. Think about the people you admire: authors, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, scientists. Every one of them has been criticized. Some were told they weren't talented enough. Some were told their ideas would never work. Yet they continued. Not because everyone believed in them, but because they believed in themselves.
And that brings us to another important psychological habit. Successful people don't see failure as their identity. They see it as an event. There's a big difference between saying, "I failed," and saying, "I am a failure." The first sentence describes something that happened. The second sentence attacks who you are. One mistake should never define your entire life.
I couldn't agree more. Every mistake teaches you something. Sometimes the lesson is about improving your skills. Sometimes it's about becoming more patient. Sometimes it's about discovering a better path. Failure isn't the opposite of success. Very often, it's part of the journey to success.
So maybe the real question isn't, how can I avoid failure? Maybe the better question is, what can failure teach me that success never could? Because every challenge leaves us with a choice. We can give up, or we can grow.
Before we finish this part, I'd like everyone listening to think about one moment when something didn't go your way. Maybe you failed an exam. Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted. Maybe someone rejected your idea. Now ask yourself this. Did that experience end your story, or did it teach you something valuable that helped you become stronger? Sometimes, our greatest setbacks become the beginning of our greatest successes.
And in the final part of today's episode, we'll bring everything together. We'll share 5 powerful lessons you can start using today, along with a simple challenge that could change the way you think about success. Stay with us.
Welcome to the final part of today's episode. We've covered a lot today. We talked about how successful people think differently, why discipline is more powerful than motivation, why failure isn't the end of the journey, and how confidence grows through action. But before we finish, let's bring everything together. If you don't remember anything else from today's conversation, remember these 5 lessons.
I love this part. Sometimes a few simple ideas can stay with us much longer than a long explanation. So, let's begin with lesson number 1.
Lesson number 1, your mindset shapes your future. The way you talk to yourself matters. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," try asking, "How can I learn to do this?" That one small change can completely change the direction of your life.
Lesson number 2. Don't wait for motivation. Build discipline. There will always be days when you don't feel like working. There will always be distractions. But successful people don't let their feelings decide their future. They keep showing up, even on ordinary days.
Exactly. Now, lesson number 3, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Mistakes are not proof that you're failing. They're proof that you're trying. Every expert, every leader, every successful person has made mistakes. The only people who never fail are the ones who never try.
And here's lesson number 4. Stop comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. Everyone has a different journey. Someone may be ahead of you today. But that doesn't mean you'll always stay behind. Focus on becoming a little better than you were yesterday. That's real progress.
And finally, lesson number 5. Take action. Knowledge is powerful, but knowledge without action changes nothing. You can read hundreds of books, watch hundreds of videos, listen to hundreds of podcasts, but your life begins to change only when you apply what you've learned.
That reminds me of something simple. Imagine two people reading the same book. One closes the book and says, "That was interesting." The other closes the book and says, "Tomorrow, I'm going to use one idea from this book." A year later, who do you think will have changed more? The person who collected information, or the person who took action?
Exactly. Information can inspire you. Action transforms you. And that's something we hope everyone listening remembers after today's episode. You don't need to change your whole life tonight. You don't need to become perfect tomorrow. Just take one small step. One conversation. One page. One workout. One new habit. One brave decision. Small steps repeated every day create extraordinary results over time.
Before we say goodbye, here's a small challenge for everyone listening. Take out your phone or a notebook, write down one goal you've been putting off. Now write one action you can take within the next 24 hours. Not next week. Not next month. Tomorrow. Keep it simple, then do it. That's how change begins.
And remember, success isn't reserved for people with perfect lives. It's built by ordinary people who choose not to give up. People who keep learning, keep improving, and keep moving forward one step at a time. If you're listening to this today, maybe this is your first step, and that's something to be proud of.
Before we say goodbye, here's a small challenge for everyone listening. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We truly hope this conversation gave you something to think about. If it did, don't keep these ideas to yourself. Share this episode with someone who might need a little encouragement today. Sometimes one conversation can change the direction of someone's life.
And that's it for today's podcast. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing in the person you're becoming. Also, don't forget to share your views in the comment.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.